cat is handed over during a tense exchange on set, with a warning shouted and a caution given. An on-screen title reading "The Kathy Corner" appears before the scene continues. A caption identifies the two directors, Danny and Michael Philippou. The film is described as feeling different from a typical horror project, noted as realistic and dense rather than confined to genre conventions. A good script is described as one that feels just and authentic rather than tied to a particular genre, and this project is called simply a great story. Because a loss had recently been experienced, making the film became a way of processing that grief, and it is remembered as the project that caused the most tears on any set. Direction is given for a scene. After declaring an intent to survive, walking should resume and continue until a specific cue involving grapefruit and a character's name is delivered. The scene described as most anxiety-inducing is identified as the very first one, where the children are met for the first time. A new arrival is welcomed into the household with a phrase equating the house to a shared home, followed by introductions among the characters, including Piper. That introductory scene is called frightening, since it was the first time the characters were presented and their true natures revealed. Many takes were required in order to explore and define exactly who these characters were. The scene is again called frightening, followed by a brief discussion about what to do next, ending with the idea of taking a photograph together, which is met with enthusiasm. A gradual descent into madness across the shoot is described, intensifying with every take, to the point that by the end, cast and crew grew wary of approaching. So much was happening during filming that it became difficult to avoid appearing genuinely unstable, especially with crew members offering instructions or advice moments before rolling, all while the character's madness had to be maintained. An affectionate comment is made about a prop or puppet during a break. The film is summarized as the story of a blind girl adopted by a Satanist, a description accepted as accurate. When work began on the earlier project, a fourth draft of this script already existed, and there was a desire to present it to the producer who had done such strong work on that earlier film. During that shoot, she was repeatedly urged to read the new script, with warnings that it would be terrifying. There was eagerness to follow up with a Psycho Biddy-style film driven by anticipation of directing a deranged, neurotic character. A prop is noted as stuffed and dead, met with a self-deprecating remark about being a little unhinged. Creating authentic characters and placing them in extreme scenarios is described as a guiding passion. A comparison is drawn to a character who, having lost family, needed someone to care for him. There was a conscious effort to move away from the earlier film. While still horror, the tension here builds more gradually and psychologically, with greater emphasis placed on character. The goal was to create strong characters the audience could identify with, so that even without approving of their actions, their motivations would be understood. A question about whether something is for Piper is answered no. A daughter is revealed to be blind, and when asked if she lives there, it is revealed she has died. When one character radiates overflowing, contagious enthusiasm, it draws in and captivates Piper. Casting a visually impaired actress is credited with bringing depth and sensitivity impossible to capture on paper, drawing on lived experience to explore and shape the character by folding a piece of herself into the role. A question about a cane goes unanswered at first. A preference not to use it is explained as a wish to avoid special treatment. Blindness in one eye and reduced vision in the other are described, allowing large shapes to be seen but making small details, such as text messages and facial expressions, difficult to identify. An invitation to share something is met with attention from the group. Feedback is exchanged. One actor is advised to grow his hair back, another to speak less loudly, prompting a shared laugh. At the outset, a belief existed that crying on camera or singing and dancing publicly would be impossible. Over the course of filming, that reluctance faded, and comfort grew steadily. By the end of the shoot, singing at full volume and dancing freely had become natural, delivered to the camera with notable vulnerability and an impressive performance. Exhaustion is admitted alongside excitement, and praise is given for remarkable talent and courage, especially notable since this marked a first film role. A call for a father figure is heard. Working alongside a fellow young actor is described fondly, crediting him with helping to become a stronger performer and offering support through emotionally demanding scenes. Shared activities, including karaoke and dining out, were used to build a believable sibling bond, with singing in front of strangers noted as an effective icebreaker. A discussion of hair color and texture follows, noting red, curly hair. The performer playing Oliver is identified as having no lines to memorize, which is described as making the role easier in that respect. Still, whatever the character endures within the story must be endured anew with every single take, a demand described with considerable respect for the resilience shown. Instructions are given regarding a knife placed near a broken tooth, met with a pleading response. The same performer is called the toughest young actor around. The role is acknowledged as difficult to play, yet an unsettling strangeness was successfully brought to the character. Scenes are rehearsed extensively in hopes of completing them in a single take. An exchange follows about being in a rough state and needing to wash up. Despite the difficulty of the role and demanding prosthetics, enthusiasm was consistently brought back to set, even amid concern that the long hours might prove too much. The head makeup artist is introduced, noting a collaboration with the directors dating back to earlier online video work. Their films are described as grounded in realism, requiring characters who resemble ordinary people encountered on the street. Collaborating with two effects teams is described as a genuine pleasure. A greeting opens a discussion of a slackened, corpse-like quality being replicated in the effects work. Both effects teams are praised as highly inventive, having created remarkably ambitious effects for this film. Because children are involved, prosthetics must hold up on young performers who are unwilling to sit still for long periods of time. One prosthetics designer is credited with handling the main creature look most of the time. The young actor is described as a great kid with a raw appearance. Long blonde, surfer-style hair was shaved off entirely for the role. The process began with a full-body mold, including casts of the head, ears, tongue, torso, arms, fingers, and thumbs, taking roughly 4 to 5 weeks to complete from start to finish. As the character consumes a body over the course of the story, the demonic transformation becomes increasingly visible, progressing through roughly 4 distinct stages. The first stage corresponds to the character's initial appearance, with subtle early nuance added through a contact lens slightly darker than its counterpart, along with a small birthmark beneath one eye. Mutual praise follows a completed take. The second stage arrives when a knife is consumed, prompting visible changes to the teeth, which begin gnawing at everything within reach. A question about pain is answered with reassurance that all is fine. As the teeth begin to chip, a denture designed by a dental prosthetist is worn to convey the deterioration. Articulation is noted as difficult and strange with the appliance in place. At this stage, blood appears and the body visibly deteriorates, leading into a third stage. A table scene prompts a remark that the wood tastes delicious, met with amusement over the apparent enjoyment. A sequence follows in which a body is devoured, likened to biting into it directly. Eyebrows are removed and a healthier complexion applied, but as decomposition sets in, warts are added. An array of temporary tattoos depicting warts, scabs, redness, and marks are placed across the entire body, along with a small added belly, justified by the character's insatiable consumption of anything found. A question about how one feels is answered with a sense of being unclean, though not particularly hungry. Throughout the film, a striking range of contact lenses is worn, including for the final stage, when the character reverts to a kidnapped child, left only with visible wounds and once again appearing human. Blood is traced through glass onto the head during a demonic sequence, and there is real enjoyment in seeing prosthetics realized physically. During the writing stage, such effects can seem simple, only to prove far more complex once filming begins. A moment of struggling underwater follows. For a separate demonic figure, the goal was something original and ancient in appearance. Despite being a mask that could simply be put on, half the body still required additional makeup application. Once brought to set, the design left everyone visibly amazed and universally well received. A bathtub setting is credited with framing the character perfectly, with added blood said to improve the scene further, delighting both directors. Prosthetics and makeup, alongside certain stunts, are described as the true stars of several sequences. Near the end of the script, a scene involves a car striking bodies. The process begins with a full-body mold filled with clay, onto which facial details are sculpted and refined, pores added before a silicone mold is produced through a careful process to recreate the head. Hair and glass eyes are added afterward, and on the shooting day, the body is positioned precisely, matched for a second character, before stunt performers and effects crew execute the impact. Once that sequence is filmed, the real performer is filmed lying on the ground with blood and additional gore added. A call to proceed, addressed to a sibling figure, precedes hope that a strong stunt result has been achieved. A stated preference exists for filming exclusively in South Australia going forward, describing the region as a home base and the crew as family. A first visit to Australia is described enthusiastically, along with admiration for the local fashion. Adelaide is characterized as a calm, beautiful, and notably rainy city, contrary to popular perception of Australia as perpetually sunny. A brief moment shows exercise taking place. Filming inside the main house is described as logistically difficult, with a swimming pool positioned centrally, identified as an essential requirement during the location search. Every ground floor window is arranged to overlook the pool, which plays a central symbolic role. The location itself, an isolated house bordering a uniquely shaped pool, is called a genuine find. Working with the production designer to add detail throughout is remembered fondly, with the pool and water more broadly described as integral to the film. From the outset, the core concept held that the pool represents the drowning of a grieving woman's daughter. Once filming began, a desire for circular visual motifs throughout the film led to retiling the entire pool floor to achieve a specific circular pattern. As water levels rise over the course of the story, contributing to mounting tension, it is the accumulating rain and water that visually drive that escalation. A question about enjoyment is met with surprise at how enjoyable dancing in the rain turned out to be. Water as a visual device is described as effective because it blurs vision. The broader theme of sight and visibility, explored through raindrops, glass, and varied textures, was used deliberately to gradually reveal the truth of events within the house. A cabin structure was built entirely on location, requiring excavation and removal of trees and existing sheds before construction began. Its placement, combined with the pool's visibility from throughout the house, is credited with adding visual depth. The cabin is described as dirty and unpleasant, prone to flooding with every downpour, requiring rainwater to be cleared before filming could resume, a repeated cycle, though the resulting footage is considered to look exceptional on screen. Credit is given to a production designer for a result so convincing it feels as though the structure had always existed. The cabin is described as the physical embodiment of the emotional void felt by one of the central characters. A deliberate choice to feature rain throughout is noted as playing an important narrative role, described as stifling and oppressive, with its constant presence gradually affecting the characters. Filming in rain is called a genuine nightmare, with roughly half the film shot under it. Shooting was only possible during overcast conditions, requiring the schedule to be planned entirely around cloud cover. Heavy downpours would give way to sudden sunshine, a frustrating and unpredictable pattern. The greatest challenge involved controlling elements that are already difficult to manage under normal shooting conditions. Large custom rain machines were built, capable of being activated on demand and covering the entire house almost instantly, though managing the resulting volume of water introduced its own set of problems. Working with the director of photography is described as a collaborative push toward the strongest possible scenes, with comfort and ease noted throughout. Having worked together previously, the collaboration is praised as ideal, bringing a distinct perspective and consistently elevating whatever concept had been envisioned, translating it to screen impressively. Enthusiastic exclamations follow a successfully completed shot. Both directors are described as wholly unique, unlike anyone previously worked with, described as directors to their core, doing exactly what they were meant to do. What often goes unrecognized is a deep sense of warmth beneath the surface. Their films are said to reflect their own lives, incorporating personal history, background, and community. Despite an outward appearance of chaos and eccentricity, genuine trust is expressed in their character, along with a willingness to follow them into any future project. A modest self-assessment follows a completed shot, questioning whether the result was any good. Away from filming, both directors are described as joyful, energetic, loud, unconventional, and frequently funny. Yet once it comes time to shoot, a rapid shift into seriousness occurs, helping performers access the necessary emotion for a scene before reverting to their more playful selves once filming concludes. Working with them is described as intense, given a constant flow of ideas, balanced by a reliable and consistent working method. A clear sense of exactly what is wanted is noted, with that energy said to spread naturally through the rest of the crew, fostering enthusiasm and a shared desire to produce the best possible film. Both are ultimately described as remarkably talented. The film overall is described as emotionally devastating, expected to leave audiences heartbroken, with a hope that viewers might question why a horror film moved them so deeply. Every character within the story is framed as a victim, and the material is acknowledged as tragic and difficult. But if audiences find emotional recognition in each character, that outcome is considered a success. Disturbing elements within the film are acknowledged, alongside genuine enjoyment experienced throughout production. A countdown is called out, followed by an exclamation describing the result as suitably unsettling. Mutual praise is exchanged over the collaboration, with one party admitting to being demanding throughout, while credit is redirected toward another as the true source of difficulty. A description of the experience as a nightmare is offered affectionately, paired with a wish to remain within it indefinitely. A final take is confirmed complete, met with shared celebration. The sequence closes with a simple request for attention.